Picture this: a quiet street in northern England, July 1916. Every house has its blinds drawn. Every house, the church bell at Christ Church tolls and keeps tolling all day long. Something has happened. Something so devastating that an entire community has gone dark at once. And it's not just this street. It's the next one, and the next, and the one after that. This is the story of the towns that died together, the story of the Pals Battalions, and the deadliest single day in British military history. It's August 1914. Britain has just declared war on Germany. But there's a problem. Britain's standing army is tiny. Just 250,000 men. Not nearly enough. Secretary of State for Warlord Kitchener needs men, hundreds of thousands of them. And he needs them now. So he comes up with an idea that will change everything. What if men could enlist with their friends, their neighbors, the lads they worked with at the factory, drank with at the pub, kicked footballs with on weekends? They'd train together, fight together, come home heroes together. At least that was the promise. The first Pals Battalion forms in Liverpool. Lord Derby, a local politician, announces that men can serve shoulder to shoulder with friends. The response is overwhelming. 1,500 men sign up in just 2 days. 1,500 from one city, and this is just the beginning. The idea spreads like wildfire across Britain. Manchester raises 8 battalions, Leeds, Sheffield, Barnsley. All form their own units. Men from the same streets enlist on the same day. Between August 1914 and June 1916, 145 Pals battalions are locally raised. 145, along with 70 reserve units. There's the Accrington Pals from the Lancashire cotton towns, the Leeds Pals, recruited from city clerks and factory workers, the Sheffield City Battalion, the Tyneside Irish from Newcastle. These aren't just soldiers anymore, they're the entire male workforce of a single street, the whole football club, every young man from the same factory floor. For 2 years they train together, they march together. They form bonds tighter than family. They write letters home promising they'll all be back by Christmas. But Christmas 1914 passes, then Christmas 1915. The war drags on, and in the summer of 1916, the Pals battalions receive their orders. The Battle of the Somme. It's meant to break the German lines and relieve pressure on French forces fighting at Verdun. It begins on July 1st, 1916. At 7:30 in the morning, whistles blow along the British lines. Officers climb ladders out of the trenches. Behind them, hundreds of thousands of young men follow. The plan calls for them to walk, not run, across no man's land. British generals believe artillery has destroyed the German defenses. They're wrong. The German soldiers have been waiting in deep concrete bunkers. The moment the shelling stops, they emerge with machine guns. What happens next is slaughter. And here's where the tragedy of the Pals becomes unbearable. Because they're not just losing soldiers, they're losing entire communities, all at once. The Accrington Pals. 700 men from the Lancashire cotton towns attack the German position at Serre. They advance into a wall of machine gun fire. Within 20 minutes, 235 of them are dead. 350 more are wounded. That's a casualty rate of over 83%. The Sheffield City Battalion fares no better. 495 men dead and wounded in a single day, in one attack. The Leeds Pals lose 250 men before they even reach the German wire. They never make it across. Most fall within sight of their starting trench. The Tyneside Irish Brigade suffers such catastrophic losses at La Boisselle that entire neighborhoods in Newcastle, communities where everyone knew everyone, are destroyed. By the end of that single day, July 1st, 1916, the British Army has suffered 57,470 casualties, 19,240 dead. It remains to this day the deadliest day in British military history. Nothing before, nothing since, has equaled it. And then come the telegrams. Back in Britain, post office boys on bicycles fan out across the streets. They know what they're delivering. Everyone knows. Because the Pals enlisted together, the telegrams arrived together. Not one per street, not two. Dozens, sometimes every house on the same block. Mothers open their doors to find the telegram boy, and then they look down the street, and they see him at the next door. And the next, and the next. Percy Holmes, whose brother served with the Accrington Pals, remembered it this way. I don't think there was a street in Accrington that didn't have their blinds drawn. And the bell at Christ Church tolled all day, for a town that had lost everything in 20 minutes. The same scene plays out across Britain. Sheffield draws its blinds. Leeds falls silent. Newcastle, Manchester, Barnsley, communities that sent their young men away together now grieve together. And then comes the terrible realization. The innovation that was supposed to boost morale, serving with your friends, your neighbors, has become a mechanism for collective annihilation. When you recruit men from the same street, the same factory, the same town, you concentrate the dying. One bad day, one failed attack, and you wipe out an entire generation. The War Office understands this now, but it's too late. The damage is done. The Somme offensive continues for another 4 months. The killing continues. By the time the battle ends in November 1916, the British have suffered over 400,000 casualties. The Germans roughly the same. The front lines have moved about 6 miles. And the communities back home, they're never the same. How do you rebuild when every young man who would have worked in the mill, married the local girls, raised the next generation, is gone? In Accrington, factories struggle to find workers. In Sheffield, steel production falls. Across Britain, the absence of an entire generation creates a wound that takes decades to heal, if it ever does. The British Army learns its lesson. After the Somme, local recruitment policies are quietly abandoned. Never again would men from the same community serve together in such concentrated numbers. But the lesson came at an unimaginable cost. The towns that died together, Accrington, Sheffield, Leeds, Newcastle, would carry their grief for generations. Walk through any of these towns today and you'll find the memorials, stone monuments in market squares, brass plaques in churches. The names go on, whole pages of the same surnames. You can visit Sheffield Memorial Park on the Somme battlefield in France. It marks the ground where the Sheffield City Battalion fell. The trenches are still visible in the landscape. There's a powerful play called The Accrington Pals by Peter Whelan that dramatizes this story. It's been performed across Britain since 1981, and it still sells out. And this year, 2026, marks the 110th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme. Memorial services are planned across Britain and France. If stories like this resonate with you, consider subscribing. We explore these moments from history every week, the ones that shaped who we are today. The story of the Pals Battalions forces us to reckon with something uncomfortable. The same human bonds that give us strength, friendship, community, loyalty, can also make us vulnerable. Those recruitment posters promised glory. They promised adventure. They promised men would serve with their friends. They didn't mention what happens when your friends all die on the same morning. Lord Derby's promise, serve shoulder to shoulder with friends for the honor of Britain, became a tragic irony. They did serve together, they died together, and their communities were broken together. It's a story without villains. That's what makes it so hard to process. Nobody meant for this to happen. Lord Kitchener needed soldiers. Lord Derby found a way to recruit them. The men wanted to serve with their mates. Every decision made sense at the time. The tragedy wasn't caused by malice. It was caused by the failure to imagine what concentrated loss would mean. For families, for streets, for entire towns. Some historians argue the Somme was strategically necessary, that it relieved pressure on Verdun and weakened Germany for eventual Allied victory. But for the communities who lost their sons, strategic necessity offered no comfort. The towns that died together never forgot. Every November, they still gather at the memorials. They read the names aloud, names that everyone in town still recognizes. The Pals Battalions remind us that our greatest strengths, our connections, our communities, our loyalty to each other, can also be our greatest vulnerabilities. And they remind us that some decisions made with the best intentions can have consequences that echo for generations, long after the reasons have been forgotten. The whistles that blew at 7:30 on July 1st, 1916, still echo in the empty streets of Accrington, in the drawn blinds of Sheffield, in the tolling bells that rang all day long.